So way back in the mines, hope you feel the it from side to side, side to side. Total shock fills your body. Oh no, it's you again. I think I remember those eyes. Cause baby tonight,
Can I
the
get an invite?
creeper's trying to steal my stuff again. So baby tonight.
Oh man, the history of Beastcoast and Wildcard is not a lengthy one, but it might be surprising to some. Wildcard has never lost to any Beastcoast team before, ever. Last time they played, Beastcoast were in the midst of a 3-game skid before they turned Super Saiyan and won it all on their way to the Major in Manchester. So let's see if Cloud9 Beastcoast have a better chance of beating Wildcard today, especially if they're singing in the lobby like that.
So are you saying that Wildcard is what started that entire just change in Beastcoast performance?
I kind of feel like they owe Wildcard for helping them win Manchester. I feel like they really owe Wildcard a huge check.
Are we going to ignore, like, Gunnar was kind of hitting that?
No, he was.
He was, but it was cringe, so I don't want to pay attention.
I love that the rest of the team, like, started singing with him in unison. Like, it just goes to show, like, how much fun
And Spirits is just like, can I get an invite?
Yeah, Spirits is locked in. I'm in. French-Canadian, no fun, no fun. Jeez.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm looking forward to this matchup, though. Again, I mean, specifically for me, I just want to see how well Beastcoast and C9 Beastcoast continues their dominance that they just put on yesterday to bring it into today.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. I mean, we wanted to see C9. I mean, you put it.
They're my number one team.
You put it the best simply. I mean, they're your number one team. I had them at number 4 just because it's going to take them some time to get used to being the new top dogs that everyone's trying to gun after. And these games are usually the most intense when it's a team that's at the bottom of the bracket playing against the previous major champions. It's always so risky because you can't take them lightly. But if you look at the standings, you feel like you should be able to take them a little lightly.
And it's still crazy to see Cloud9 Beastcoast now at the top of the league or within that conversation when, again, at this point, last stage, they were at the bottom fighting for survival and then began that climb back up. And they're beginning their climb up now because they got that 7-4 win on Border against LG yesterday.
Yeah, again, and Fox had him at 4th, but I just simply couldn't do this to this team, especially after the first loss that we saw. But then they immediately bounced back into yesterday of showing what they're made of, bringing that to Luminosity, and specifically going into this game. And there's something I really want to talk about from yesterday that Gunnar specifically touched up on in the interview. He said they wanted to work on their discipline. And I got some videos to show you where the discipline was really shown from this team in these rounds that it really just capitalized on what he was saying. This round specifically, you see the Blitz taking the distraction away from the Ashe, breaching charge into here, eliminating this Melusi. Beautiful teamwork from here. And then it goes into this next round. Hot and Cold sees this guy running to East and tells his team, wait, let me get this kill, then we will collapse on East. And they do that almost immediately the second this happens. It's a little bit unfortunate that Luminosity oversteps here and gives this pick, but ultimately you see that kill feed just immediately go blue, go in the favor of C9 BC, and then now it is a 3v1 into this situation. You think, oh, maybe they're going to get overzealous, maybe they're going to rush here. They don't. They use the Deimos tracker, they force him back, they have someone running up top metal, and then to immediately follow up with this trade if he did end up getting that other kill on Dome. Now it goes onto this, goes into Gav specifically. You're starting the round out hot, getting this down, and the beautiful thing about this down, this F-Naught goes off. Gav doesn't play off of it. He lets them think that no one's in CC, and this is what allows him to get this play, get this flank off, and he ends up netting this triple kill, and it goes back into the discipline. And then we're gonna go to this last round of Gav once again. When you get flashed in this situation, you assume that the team knows where you are, that they're gonna push you at any second. Maybe you have to get aggressive. No, Gav just lays here, stalls, I believe, about 14 seconds off this round. Wow. Granted, he dies, but because of that, it allows his team to get the trade on the other end, now forces Luminosity into their last line of defense, into the setup, into those F-Knots, into those Go-Yo canisters, and they just end up closing the round. And those were 4 rounds where you just see sheer discipline being played by C9 Beastcoast, and it goes into exactly what Gunnar was saying that they were improving.
And that's just textbook roaming, because as a roamer, most people expect to have to go big. You have to get a bunch of kills. You have to get a bunch of flanks. You have to stall as much time as possible. But if you just stay alive and put the enemy attacking team in a bad position by making them have to figure out where you are, waste their own time, their own utility to find you out, that is doing your job in folds. And obviously, Gavini set up his team in perfect situations so that there's only like 20 seconds to hit the site. The rest of your teammates in sight know that they've won the round because the pressure is not on them. The pressure's on the attackers.
And
So, I mean, go
I
ahead.
was just saying, and it just interrupts the flow of comms of trying to figure out what you want to do next, whether you're going for picks or whether you're going for a bomb plant, and you just saw it there, Luminosity got shut down.
He was on the interview yesterday, but Gunnar had a couple of other things he felt like he wanted to get off his chest this week, so he sat down with him to figure out what was going on.
Hi, I'm Gunnar from Cloud9 Beastcoast, and I'm a major champion. I mean, the grand finals, it felt crazy. It was really hot. It was like 10 million degrees in that venue. Like, I don't even remember a lot of the specifics in game. I just remember everything working. I didn't know I was on track to breaking a record or anything like that. I just got told after the fact. But that game was just it was just straight flow state for everyone. I feel like we should have closed it out way earlier, but we got down to 7-5. When we finally won, the amount of relief and just stress that just left. Yeah, I mean, it felt really good, especially being told you're an MVP and all that. I would say that people, probably see me now as more of a complete player rather than my reputation on Sonics. And I've always known that I was really good. I don't think people really thought of me as really good. The major kind of showed everyone oh, he can actually shoot back. Maybe it gave me a little bit more self-confidence, but I'm just more so happy I finally got to show the world that I actually am a top player and not some bum that had one good stage his rookie year and fell off. It was awesome being able to boot camp in London with everyone, just finally meeting in a new team environment, meeting new teammates. Everyone's really close. I think that obviously helped. It's probably the closest I've ever been with a full team. We're all just excited to play with each other. We're excited to go into the new stage and just play. I mean, I want to win invite. That's the best thing you can do in this game. It's the Super Bowl, I guess. I don't know. My goal is just set on winning invite. I want to win invite.
I remember talking to Gunnar in Atlanta. This was when he was still on the Sonics. It was his last event with the team, and he was just sitting in the front row looking kind of downtrodden. And I asked him if he was okay. And, what sort of response are you supposed to give to a question like that after your team's been knocked out? To see what his progression has been like in such a quick amount of time, less than a year later, with a brand new team, hoisting a major trophy, and being in a position now where you can keep that momentum going into another stage, Gunnar's upward trajectory has been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's grown a lot as a player from his inception, and he said he's happy that people are seeing him now as the full player, the full package, compared to what he was compared to on Sonics. People thought he was just an entry, didn't think too much, but now he really is showing that he is a very good spokesperson and leader for the team.
Wildcard are up on deck next. Get the words out, Jacob. It's all good. For this team, they finally got their first win, but it was an overtime win against the other team that still has yet to get a win. Fine, a victory is a victory, but as far as they go, it could be a lot cleaner.
Yeah, it's a sloppy game nonetheless, but it is a start. And Wildcard, the previous roster, something that we're so used to them being good at and consistent at is their defenses, and that's been a rocky start. And we'll get to that in a minute. But something that they have been doing good on, which we highlighted yesterday, was their front line. Their new pickups with Bay and Spiff. They've been doing an amazing job at finding those kills, being the pinpoint on attack, especially on yesterday's map of Chalet, and that's exactly what Wildcard needed. Wildcard desperately needed people who were going in and getting those kills. And now you're going to look at this and say, 6 opening kills to 8 opening deaths. What do you mean they're good on entry? I mean, a lot of those kills that they got for the opening was on attack, and it came from Spiff off of the shoulders of the entry. And that's exactly what Wildcard needed. They needed a player who was going to be able to be a spokesperson, an entry for the team to find openings, because they knew that their defenses were rock solid. But they haven't been so rock solid as of now.
Yeah, Smith finally had his wake-up game on Wildcard. It was the first time for the team that he cracked into double digits, doing exactly what he was meant to be doing by filling in for Vert's old role, as you highlighted last week. But they needed something else to go right, too. They won the game because Spiff was doing great, but they could have lost the game because of a couple questionable plays from the guy who's been the longest tenured player on their roster.
Yeah, the other player that we were talking about in yesterday's frontline backline is Bosco, the backline, the support that you're supposed to believe in. And you're going to see a string of questionable plays that are 2v1 scenarios where he's constantly making a fumble on defense, throwing his body away and not being able to play off of his teammate. Usually his teammate in those two to three rounds was Spiff. And when Spiff was still able to win out those rounds, but you're just making it so much harder. And you have to ask, is the ideology of the team changing, putting more pressure on Bosco to lead the team than he's able to handle? Because we were so used to defense being the sure thing for Wildcard, and now that's become the question, but their attacks are slowly becoming something that we can expect them to be a lot better.
Yeah, and it just goes to show if that frontline backline is what I was talking about yesterday, is we needed to at least see one of those improve, and we would start to see success. And sure enough, we saw the frontline from Spiff creating the creating those openings, creating those engagements, finding that success, and allowing them to actually get a win from this game, from that game against Auction, but then it falls back to that backline where it wasn't so strong. We did highlight, sure, Bosco wasn't having the strongest game. He did have that one really good round from Clash.
In the support aspect, you don't have to have the strongest game statistically. We all know this.
But it's just a matter of if Bosco can just find his footing on that backline and really have a strong showing, Wildcard will be strong.
The decision-making, because the decision-making on attacks, if Bosco's being the IGL with their entries, it's going flawlessly. But now the defenses have been struggling on the decision-making, and those clips show you that there was just a little bit of struggling from the defense, specifically from Bosco.
Consulate up on deck for C9BC Wildcard. Any particular idea who this favors? Because they're jumping into it for the first time here.
Yeah, I don't really like that for Wildcard.
Yeah, neither do I. And Beastcoast starting on defense here. I mean, it's a very tight map, and you really have to play with your teammates here. So it's going to be coming down to Wildcard really playing together and being able to play the trade game. But we see how C9 plays their defense, and they play it really well, and they really force people out of position, or they catch people out of position.
Yeah, defense is the favorable side on this map, but we saw Luminosity abuse fast rushes. We've seen teams like SSG abuse fast rushes. You can definitely get quick and speedy attacks on this map. C9BC is a team that thrives on individual performance, and they've been doing a great job on their attacks. So this doesn't make me feel confident if you're Wildcard.
And the thing that I worry about is, especially when you're versing a team like C9 Beastcoast, which this team fundamentally is the best at adapting, in my opinion, in all of the league, all of NA.
If they're that disciplined, they better be.
So it's a matter of Wildcard. Sure, you want to try to go for these rushes, but we saw them try to do that when they replayed Clubhouse, and they immediately got shut down and almost stopped trying to do what they were doing and look discombobulated as a whole. So it's really going to come down to, like you were saying, of the IGL of Bosco to really figure out what they want to do if these rushes aren't working.
You guys both went with C9BC on this one, but to go back to the Bosco point, he even said in the interview the reason that Meepy called that tag timeout against OXG where he did was all about attacking, timing, and pacing and trying to get everybody set up. Now that's going to be put to the forefront of this game immediately because they have to attack on Consulate first, and we all know how much of a pain in the ass that can be.
Yeah, attacking on Consulate is so difficult because there's not just one spearhead to the push, and the vertical play has still been untapped in the meta of the game. Consulate is such a flexible map on where you can attack. Every bomb site is so viable, and with Wildcard's attacks, yes, you have Spiff that's being a very good entry into the map, but the issue with Consulate is there's so many ways for the defenders to get out, position themselves in a new position, and then it becomes a question of, can Wildcard's midline be able to fill in the gaps between the front line and that back line?
Yeah, and I think it's definitely going to, again, the situation, as long as we can continue to find success on the front line and hopefully going into this game for their back line, we can keep this game close. But just for the sake of the game, I have to just obviously go with C9 Beastcoast because they just seem to be the better team and the most dominant. And realistically, they're the Manchester Major champions.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, we're throwing a whole bunch of lines at the audience for those who maybe don't understand it. Let's put it in very basic terms. Wildcard barely crawled over the line against OXG yesterday, so they're finally getting a little bit of something going, but they're going to have a much taller task against C9BC, who are looking red hot after they got that win over LG yesterday. Carter Handefeld and Sam Stewart are going to tell us whether Wildcard really have a chance in this game or not.
I mean, I think you are going to find Sam and I will always say a team with Bosco on it has a chance, not necessarily for any empirical reasons, mostly just because we're fans at heart of North American Rainbow Six. But I think, to be objective, I think all the points that Dusk brought up, I, unfortunately for Wildcard, find myself in agreement with. C9 Beastcoast, some of the best at adapting, with some great individual plays between them. A map they have more experience on against better opponents, from Wildcard haven't really played this map a whole lot in their tenure, Sam. Everything's looking up C9BC for me.
Yeah, most definitely. Which begs the question, how does Wildcard go about this Consulate? I especially like that Fox is poking holes in the sense of the map, right? It's got a lot of untapped potential. We've seen a lot of Consulate in recent history, post-change. And honestly, at least in my mind, Carter, one of the most fun maps to watch when it comes to a competitive standpoint. There's so many different ways that teams can go about it, from the offense as well as the defense. And it just makes things extremely interesting. So I'm excited to see what C9BC presents to Wildcard, especially opening up here, because we know due to that adaptability, they have so many different faces that they can show.
And I think especially one of those things that, took Consulate from being, a pretty slow, boring map, at least for me, when it first entered the pool, to being a lot more exciting are the various ways that teams have tried to rush that CEO bomb site. It might not be the first site we see, but it's definitely a site that I think if you get a team that is really good at either mastering those rushes or on the defense countering those rushes, can not only make for an exciting game, but can make an opportunity, maybe even the best opportunity for teams to find rounds on the attack. C9, on the other hand, are going all the way down to the bottom floor. Not really a site where we see all that many rushes. Gone are the days where you used to just open up the garage wall and try to find a bit of vert before forcing a smoke plant in the front of the site. No, there are a lot more options, and don't get me wrong, the front still gets a lot of focus. But this will likely be a bit slower for Wildcard, which I mean, Sam might be good. If Wildcard, are getting their feet under them on the attack this stage, and defense is where they're struggling, this, of all the sites on the map, should be something a bit more their speed, something maybe they're a bit more used to.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say as of right now about their offensive lineup is we might want to get the Amaru out of here, but I mean, hey, we could also just have her immediately take access upstairs. Thank the heavens, though, that we get enough drone play early on inside of the prep phase to be able to identify positioning that C9 BC want to go with. So, little line shift here. We'll bring the Ace with the Selmas as well as Ram. And honestly, I really like this out of Wildcard. This is exactly what you want to see when it comes to Consulate. I especially like the implementation of Nomad. This is an operator that we see seldomly, right? She has her play, but this is one of her maps where she's so powerful, Carter. There's so many different ways that you can rotate around. And even if, the defense is playing fully on site, that doesn't mean that they're, might not throw some late rotation towards you. So to have those air jabs to lean back on, a really big pinpoint here for Wildcard.
And just being able to, if you take control of Yellow Stairs, stop anybody from retaking, that alone can be so powerful for whether you're attacking CEO, the middle floor, or the bottom floor. Yellow Stairs is such a strong pathway that allows for freedom of movement for the defense, that if you're able to lock that down with an air jab or two, you're feeling very good. Monty hops down, sprinting on down through the bottom of the staircase, arrives on the middle floor to find, well, nobody at least immediately present. There is one player around the corner with a shotgun, but there's no need for Spirits to feel all that pressured, especially with that barricade on bottom yellow still solid. There are other defenders playing around the middle. There's still Gavini up top as well. The Wildcard have established a decent foothold to start and also forced Gavini off the top floor. How Wildcard able to progress in this mid-round will likely make or break this execute with half the round to go.
Wildcard have their positioning around yellow. What they really are looking for, though, is this piano space, is this exhibition area. Get those Rams in here, start breaking up the floor. Life will become a lot easier for a garage plant. Have some stuns coming in, but the timing's going to punish Spiff. Could add some nice shots onto the defensive player, but it's not in the cards for him as of right now. C9 BC are doing a very good job of playing this up to the limit. You see how they're constantly jousting at Wildcard, getting them to kind of take the bait in a sense, but it's going to be Spirits that's actually able to get the first shots off. The Future's going to get traded out, though, so we will stay at least even here on the man count.
Now, the gun behind that Monty cut down by Spirits. There is a trade, but C9 BC just doing a good job at stopping any momentum to be gained by Wildcard. Hot and Cold also curious how much of an opportunity he has still on the middle floor. Does have a teammate supporting him, the Azami inside of Memorial position. Both on very low HP. Gavini, a shotgun of his own through the floor. Boss G doing some excellent work for C9. We reach 30 seconds remaining. Wildcard have to commit to the execute, but this middle floor is still solid. Gunner still alive inside the site, waiting to see if he can get an angle with his shotgun on Bosco on the breach. Does get a bit aggressive. It's a pretty easy pickup for the AK-12, but it seems like round one will be equally so for C9 Beastcoast.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy for Cloud9. There was just really nothing presented from Wildcard there that they had to worry about. Every single layer of this defense working out accordingly. And you can see it's all based on the precipice of the offense trying to take that mid-floor control. And we could see from the lineup that was being brought from Wildcard, that was their entire game plan. They wanted to get Ram in there. They want to break up that flooring and start to apply pressure to these hard points downstairs that are a little difficult to try and break up, right? But instead, what Cloud9 do is that they play around that entire game plan perfectly. You put those bodies inside of the mid floor, you kind of draw the attention of Wildcard over towards those far-reaching spaces, and then you apply pressure from downstairs as well through the verticality. We see some big moments come out from that M590 there on that door, as well as those cross angles that we see. And as soon as C9 get the big pickups, Carter, they immediately vacate the premises. They don't want to overcook this round. They bring everything downstairs and force Wildcard to go into that execution moment and try and make some magic happen on the site. But when you have so many bodies and so many well-tuned, well-oiled machines like C9 does, that's seldom going to go well, is it?
It's really the story of ever since they were able to bounce back from a pretty promising but certainly uncertain path to playoffs in stage one of the NAL. that was really what became what everybody loved the most about Cloud9 was the ability to adapt, the ability to play off each other and fight back quite effectively. Round 1 of Consulate against Wildcard, no shock we see it there.
Definitely not. Have some extension up here towards the top floor. Just making sure that things will be kosher here for C9. Things finally round off for me. I don't know for you, but things are a little frozen there for just a split second.
Just making sure. I'm still
just gotta check.
I'm still. I've got memories of that wild card game on Oregon where I was out. I don't know if you remember that, but
just for ages. Yeah, no, I do remember. You cut out there for the tail end, so I didn't get to exactly hear what the last little bit there was. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when you ended up having that black screen there for a little while. But fortunately enough, things have snapped back to reality for us, and C9 are setting things up here on this top level for themselves. A Clash ban more than likely going to assist them when it comes to their offensive side. Don't have to sweat it too much when it comes to them. They really like these solid SMGs when it comes to their defensive setups, and they're going to have a whole plethora of them when it comes to their ops that they've chosen here. As of, Wildcard for now, just nothing really to say. They're setting up for an execute over on the CEO side. And, well, actually, I do say that, but this seems like more of just a facade, right? We're going to have that guy swing in, and more than likely Bosco try to find a home for this case.
yeah, and it goes out, and Spiff flies in. But I think I'd be remiss if I mentioned that this is in fact not the bomb site. I think it's exposition down below. So we have all this utility going out, and it's certainly very impressive. But as C9 get all the kills, it was a great setup to clear out that top floor, but you still have to move down below to actually put that diffuser down. And, well, C9 BC, the defense as a whole, just stop it on that top floor. Spiker's able to find one. Diffuser might fall. It's not unwinnable for the Lion, though. DMR packs a punch, and Gavini is quite low on HP. Diffuser also recoverable for the Lion, so your win conditions are back to where they were before. He's even got one nade to maybe try and isolate an angle, throw it in that side hallway, focus on the rotate hole when he comes back up, buy himself 4 seconds. He also has that EE1D that he's just now using as he moves into the site. Throws it in the closet. That's his final one. Mirror window watching into the other bomb site, though. So this is not going to be easy, but there are ways he can gather information. One player close to his left, both players close to his left. He'll rotate around, but remember, he's flying blind. He's got no intel right now. He hears one, but he doesn't know that both were over by bottom yellow. So as he moves in, very low on time. Got to commit to this in some way or pray these kills line up for him. There goes one, but there goes the time. 2 rounds in a row for C9 Beastcoast.
It's been a masterclass so far on how Consulate defenses go, right? I mean, they, practically each time made a safety net for the exact strategy that we've seen Wildcard go for, especially in that one right there. I mean, you could not get worse timing on that swing in the window from Aramaru, just so unfortunate there, and Gunner immediately slays him. The rest of the team falls to pieces as C9 quickly dispatched this entire top floor execute. And like you said, Carter, it was the mid floor this entire time. So whether it was unbeknownst to Wildcard or whether they just were like, hey, we're going to deal with this top floor setup, which, I mean, rightfully so. There's a lot of angles that work into that bomb site. It was just not going the way of WC.
Now that we actually move up to the top floor, maybe some of the usual suspects missing, or I suppose just one surprise inclusion. I think, the Azami Warden definitely makes sense, but we've got that's Chonka on the board. C9 BC, by the way, notorious for hating Fenrir. They've actually decided to ban the Clash, as we mentioned earlier, but Fenrir for this particular bomb site, I, at least in my mind, is not only one of the most common bomb sites to see him on in certain regions, but also one of his best, because you throw a couple F-Knots on just like 2 doorways over on the admin side, and it can make pushing there very difficult, considering how hard it is to clear them from the exterior. But C9 BC also ban him a lot, probably don't have him in their strategies a lot, and instead, we've got the Shibiki grenades from the Tachanka to see how Hot and Cold will roll with this.
Don't get to see Chonka too much, but when you do, always excited, right? Especially with the current iteration. A lot more useful than the former. See if they can try and make the most out of these fire grenades. The mute in here too, so still have that shotgun presence from Spirits. Wildcard looking to do some drone work over on the admin side. We'll work the Monty in once again here for Bay. We still have Spiff on the Amaru. They want to try and go in printer window. It looks like it as of right now. They have that marked out. Can opener here, the main panel up front. Gav, just seeing if somebody wants to try and peek here inside of Secret. We do have Kansan over in the potential area. I just want to see what they can try and get going on here. As for C9 though, just a patience game. Don't want to try and oversell things, potentially give a man advantage over to Wildcard, as they're still trying to process this top floor.
You don't really need to. I mean, the attack always typically has to make the first move on this side, and it will be so. Spiff quickly takes control. Wildcard flood the space in admin. And while they're stopped by the Kiva barricade, they have taken rapid control of this segment of the top floor very quickly. But unfortunately, it's often this part with the deployable shield, with the Kiva barricades, that are really difficult for the attack to clear. And behind the shield too, it's the Azami playing here. This position can often be a fortress for the defender that decides to hold this position. He's got Gunner to support from the left and the right, and you can see the difficulty Wildcard are facing.
It's a beautiful crossfire setup from C9. You can see what the strategy is there with the flip table over inside of what we used to call a projector, but don't exactly know what the in-game comm is anymore. But either way, this angle that you can see divides between these two, as well as the position over inside of Checkers in behind that main little machine here that we saw Gav on, just makes things extremely complicated for them. Gav's going to shift off of this, but he swings back in, finds one. Does he get the second? He does, but it's actually Diffuser. Gav finally with some kills, but all of C9 show up to play. It's all down to their fearless leader, but he's been gunned down too. It's a blood-filled lobby, but it's all the blood of Wildcard spilled all over the floor.
A flawless round. I think our first flawless round of the day, and just sort of exemplifying why that site can be so difficult to attack from the admin side. Even if you have a Monty to try to break that pressure, apply a lot of problems to the guy playing behind that deployable shield. It's as you brought up, Sam, you've got the crossfire from one of the bomb sites. You've got the crossfire from top main. You have one in the hallway in the middle if you want to, depending where the attack is pushing from. And you have this one guy with a deployable shield and Kiva barricades holding it down by the vending machine. There are just so many angles the defense has, and Wildcard are effectively playing into exactly what C9 Beastcoast want. A defense where the name of the game is playing off the communication relayed by players like Gavini, like Gunner, like Diffuser, coordinating between each other, and winning the game off gunfights. That is the C9 defense method.
And it's one that a lot of teams share, but not every single team can pull off, especially to a degree like this. I mean, look at the, full-on assault that C9 just placed on Wildcard there. As soon as Wildcard, just dips a toe into Checkers hallway in some form of an execute, C9 show up immediately to their door and eviscerate the entire team. There was no chance in hell that Wildcard were making it through there. And that's why every single time we talk about Consulate, especially in this iteration, we talk about Checkers Hall, Carter. It is so very difficult to try and bunker bust. There's so many different angles. There's so many different ways that you can try and lock that down as a defense. And C9 did it with flying colors. I especially like how Gavini played that out, because if you saw, he shifted over to that front desk area there for a little while and gets Wildcard comfortable with the fact that, hey, maybe he's not going to try and hold things down in behind that vending machine, just in case they have some info, right? And as soon as things start to pop off, he reclaims his position, has 2 big assists there as Diffuser takes down the main 2 bodies rolling through, and just nobody there to try and support the Monty shield play, which, I mean, we've been beating that dead horse with multiple teams all the time. We all know how important it is to have a body around Monty, and they just simply could not do it as everybody gets gunned down there right on a single door frame.
And 3 rounds in a row from C9 will force the timeout from Wildcard, and I think a lot of the worries are voiced by Blacks and Fox and Jacob about a poor start to their attack and then having to go to your weaker side afterwards, the defense for Wildcard. We're starting to make that reality a bit more solid, a bit firmer in front of us. Of course, things can always change. DPU, a pretty well-respected coach, could try and turn this around for at least one attack to maybe get one on the board for Wildcard, but especially once C9 BC have the momentum behind them, it can be difficult to stop them. Split bomb site, I do believe, if my eyes don't deceive me, from what I saw. I think that might be the basement. Either way, it's hot and cold over by the Visa position. No, the basement, but it is the Visa position that is going to be at least the focus for hot and cold, and some of the attackers pretty early on. Monty just shoving his face in the window, relaying intel, but that's about all he can do.
I love this from C9. Constantly putting a new obstacle in the way of Wildcard and just seeing how they're going to go about things. Do you want to sit here and stare at me? Do you want to waste some time? Are you guys going to try and go for an immediate response on the other side of the map? Or like how exactly do you guys want to go about things here? And so far, it is look like the former. That timer really eating at Wildcard right now, but the positioning starting to change for them. You can see they're going to work their way down Secret Hall here. And Gunner going to clean up one of those drones. And this is what I've loved so much about the C9 BC playstyle for so very long, Carter. They play things right up to the fence line. It's like when your grandparents told you, hey, don't play on the train tracks. So you stood right next to them instead, right? And Gunner able to get a big kill here. Almost have another one pouring in for Wildcard, but I have a nice adjustment here as well from C9. For the very first time here, a man advantage going the way of WC, but this timer might start to be punishing.
Now, a minute can be just as short as it can be long, entirely dependent on what you have up until that point. Big kill from Wildcard, though, to find Hot and Cold, who was constantly trying to apply some phantom pressure on the Visa window, breaking it, firing a couple shots through it, but he decides to get aggressive and Spiker's watching, so good read by the Deimos there. It's what gets them that 4v3, but the push is pretty well read by C9 up until this point. They know they're going through the backside, and just with a quick prone, Spirits takes down the bulk of that push, but not taking away the advantage. Nade right next to him and cut down by the onslaught of fire from the Gridlock. Diffuser's wrapped around, but there's too much time to just win this on that alone. Until one player through the wall, he'll give his position away with the shot. Spot one, and it's Wildcard to get their first attack this half.
Very well done from WC, and that's the one thing that can go awry for C9 and come, you know, inside of these instances, as I was talking about playing up against the fence line, right? C9 finally get punished in the sense of man count, where, you know, WC can come back to the drawing board inside of those dying moments of that round and really use that full breadth of that last minute, right? They make sure that they dot their I's, they cross their T's, and they don't overcook this, because this is a big round for them to try and sweep under the rug. And they're able to establish some solid crossfires. I really liked how they focused on the main heart of the site and were able to garner control of that and just play strictly based off of that. They don't really want to try and go and deal with C9 on these rotations in the mid floor or anything of the sort. They just go exactly what the path was already laid out as, which is working their way over from server into the main heart of the site and trying to get a plant down inside of that last round. So very well done from them. It's going to get them their first offensive round here. Still a little bit of a road to go, though. I mean, only one round as of right now. They're really going to want two. And I mean, don't start getting, you know, don't start making me salivate around 3, okay? If we can get 3, that would be something else. But you don't really want to put, or rather count your eggs before they hatch, right? So.
No, you certainly don't. But Wildcard have one, and there's certainly a lot of resistance placed by Beastcoast in the line of where Wildcard are pushing from, and they were able to overcome it with an advantage, a pretty consistent one at that, being able to deal with every player that was in their way. So it's the kind of round that I'm certainly happy to see. Not a fluke whatsoever. Slow but steady, and win the war of attrition. Over to the middle floor side, as I believe it is Exposition. Yes, it is. Remember before, this is where we saw the rapid-fire Amaru rush on the top floor. So many resources, you could have easily confused it for an actual execute onto the top floor, but we don't see any of that cast of characters this time. No Candelas, no Gara Hook. It's something a bit more normal. Wildcard, aside from that one round, have been focusing quite heavily with Bay on this Monty, and I think with how annoying Consulate attack can be, it's understandable.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just a solid thing to work around. Monty is always something that if a well-coordinated team can just make sure that they provide something for a Montaigne, you know, there's not a lot of drawbacks, especially in the current instance of Rainbow Six. So for them, they are going to get this foothold over on the admin side and start clearing things across. They will have to worry about a couple of players downstairs that could try and rotate up the admin stairwell, but will more than likely have some semblance of control over that as well. A very well-placed Nitro cell comes out from Hot and Cold, and he's going to end up taking down Bay strictly off of that cardiac sensor influence. Very well done from them. a huge kill too, as they take down the big piece that we had just been talking about for quite a few seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the issue I think we've seen up until this point. They're bringing this Monty, you understand why, but Bay gets...
no.
All right. Bay gets killed by a player prone with a shotgun. Bay's the first pick this time with a C4. It's always a bit unfortunate when that Monty, who can be such a powerful operator, I mean, someone could argue, I mean, I definitely think we're in a shield meta right now. Maybe one of the defining features for the attacking side. But when you lose that key piece in such unceremonious fashion without really being able to trade him out, now you got to try to do things a bit more normal with one powerful piece off the board. C9 BC still have control of yellow stairs with the shotgun. Kansan might be able to find hot and cold from below, but Gavini can rotate down below the site, play beneath with that Specchio scanner. Spirits can get aggressive with the shotgun on yellow, though very low HP could be found, but Gavini with the double stack, the shotgun too, he's got control of the diffuser, and diffuser with the heartbeat scanner right by him to let him know if anybody pushes. C9 BC have Wildcard chasing their own tails with only 20 seconds to go.
Yeah, hit him with the tabletop right there. One prone on the ground, another shotgun standing tall. They end up getting the big kill. Nitro Cell out, and it's gonna get Kansan. Spirit can't get it done. Gunner will gun down the last one too. And C9 back in the saddle with their 4th round.
And the C4 is the name of the game there. All right, hello, Spirits' cat.
Oh,
Is
he's
how
so
that,
cute.
how that-
Oh, dude, he's...
Hope that
Did you
window's
see
not
it?
open.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about the window being open. I was looking at the fact that he's got his tail cut up like a lion, dude. It's so cute.
Oh, that is cute. I was just hoping the window's not open because brother looked like he was trying to make an escape there. But
the grand escape right on NAL. We just see him escape out the back window. Spears is gonna ask us during his interview. He's gonna be like, "You guys seen our cat?" I'm like,
Hey,
actually, yeah.
somewhere around round 4, round 5, my white cat was like by my leg, and then I just can't find him anymore. So hopefully not. But that round, as opposed to a lot of the C9 rounds we've seen up until this point, so the C4s, the vertical play, the denial was the name of the game there, from getting the opening pick to denying the plant to making it difficult for Wildcard to push yellow stairs with the heartbeat scanner, aiding with the plays made by Gavini and Spirits. Really good stuff. Nice adaptation by C9, retaking, well, not retaking their lead, but retaking the momentum that they had established through the first 3 rounds on their defensive half.
All right, well, it comes down to the very last round of offense for Wildcard to see if they can potentially get their 2nd round that they so desperately need. As of right now, Consulate is sitting at a 50-50 overall defensive win rate. The most won site, percentage-wise at least, not play-wise, is Servers Tellers at a 67%, but we have not seen that out of C9 just yet, and we will not see it out of their defensive side. Diffuser looking for a spawn kill over here on Spiral, something that we see a lot of offenders use to get to the roof. Not as crazy as it used to be. You used to be able to get the default cam inside of Spiral from outside, but then they went and paneled all of those up. Come on, Ubisoft, you gotta leave some of the cheesy stuff in, right? But not this time around, at least for me and my old headness. As for Wildcard, though, looking to try and see if there is some potential behind CEO. If they did want to try and get aggressive on these windows, at least for a plant, this time around it'll be someone swinging in. They won't have the Gara hook to assist.
And this will be the 6th round now in a row that Bay has brought that Monty. Even with the Amaru rush we saw on CEO, on the Exposition and Piano Bomb site, wasn't really able to have a lot of impact. Cost has been very, very low so far, and died every single round we've played. C9 BC have not really felt a whole lot of pressure from this Monty, and when they have been able to deal with them. Though Wildcard did end up winning the round off of the back of ground gained by that Monty in round 4. Here on CEO, Wildcard, remember how that admin push ended last time. They do not want to do it. They'll instead go for the rapid-fire play down yellow. These are what the Shamika grenades are for. You can get one long lineup, but they find a way around. The radius a little too small. Spirits finds one, but that's a pretty easy trade for Spiff to find. But again, Bay downed as he's trying to push into connector. Spiff should be able to revive him with no real ability for anybody from C9 BC to counter it, but as the Shamikas go out again, we've got 2 players trapped on yellow stairs. Bay cut down, Spiff making quick work of anybody who walks into his line of sight with that revolver. But the Vendetta can only do so much. You need some help, and Kansan's able to supply it. Spiff might do everything himself. Now we find ourselves in the 1v2. Concold's got the ammo. He's got the angle to make it work. He's got intel on one and an angle on another. deployable shield to isolate these remaining fights. There's one, but the gunfight doesn't go his way. They know where this Tachanka is now. They'll try to peek around, but he's quickly getting stuck behind this deployable. It's constricting just as much as it's protecting, and they collapse on him behind it. 2 rounds for Wildcard. C9 BC with the lead, but Wildcard end things on a positive note.
Yeah, and it was a struggle right there for Wildcard to get things going for themselves on that site. And C9 BC, to their credit, trying to fight fire with fire, but finally, Wildcard pull out the pliers card, and they finally get this tooth pulled out. That last round, exactly like that, pulling teeth. They finally get things swept under the rug. It's going to be a 2-4 half in favor of C9 after some cool, calm, and collected defensive ends and in a pretty feisty round 6.
Also important to, I think, point out that as Wildcard struggling to gain a lot of ground on that attacking side, Spiff, let me just check, yep, has 6 kills. 3 of those kills came in round 4, which Wildcard won. The other 3 came in round 6, which Wildcard won. There is a pretty obvious theme to the 2 rounds we see Wildcard get on that attacking side. And while Spiff has also been 0-3 on the entry so far, definitely the player that is, you know, certainly supported by the team, but particularly that CEO round, willing Wildcard to still a losing half as they switch to their defenses, the side that needs a bit more work throughout the NAL so far.
Yeah, most definitely. Now for Wildcard, onto their defenses here. Consulate, as we said, a perfect teeter-totter. It's a 50-50 shot. Means it's a crapshoot here for these two as to who will potentially be more dominant on the defensive end. But obviously, this is where it comes down to playing out the game and what you guys think of these players. Wildcard, at least in this game, well, likely going to have a little bit of the advantage just depending on how C9's comfortability is on this offensive side, but I highly doubt it's too lackluster as we already have Gunner moving in downstairs. So see how this first round goes and see if WC potentially feel more comfortable rocking things from this defensive end.
Getting an opening pick would certainly be nice. I mean, C9 BC also had 6 opening picks in a row. Obviously not 100% converting to round wins, but still needed Spiff to get massive multi-frags to bring those rounds back. C9 BC have been doing quite a good job at getting opening advantages and, generally speaking, converting them, or at least keeping them consistent throughout the round. If they're able to now switch sides and find similar success early on, it could be very difficult for Wildcard. But to call back to it, remember that admin push that Wildcard tried to go for. Remember how difficult it was to break through that shield. It's a much different lineup from the defense this time. No Azami, like we saw from C9. And overall, if you're able to get rid of these ADSs, this shield could actually fall pretty quickly with some Rotero drones on the opposite side of the field. This BP needs to do a lot of heavy lifting.
That's what the BP is here for. And if you could see it on the position there for the shield as well, there was actually no mute jammer placed there. And that's what you usually end up seeing BP out. It's going to end up getting it. So Gavini, I don't think he's going to try and place another one just yet. He's got 2 more in his pocket. That one should just more than likely go off on the floor. But Gunner, this is what he's so good at, Carter. While all of C9 is focused over here on checkers, he's like a cloak up to a dagger. Moves his way in up the yellow stairs and is able to find a nice kill onto Spiker that he was just simply not prepared for, and immediately delves back into the night to try and assist his team over on this checker side. A nice kill here for Hot and Cold. They'll dislodge this very difficult position to break down. How will Wildcard respond?
C9 BC able to actually isolate those 1v1s, of course, with the backstab. You mentioned Hot and Cold with that nice flick to trade out the death of his teammate. Now they're moving up main stairs. They're coordinating around that admin side. The BP is destroyed from that angle. If they can just find a way to either push Bay out of this position or take him down, a defuse plant is very, very possible. Diffuser cuts down Spiff around him. Both the smoke and the frost on low HP, neither long for this world. Opening pick, round win. 5 rounds for C9 Beastcoast.
So what's our main difference there, buddy? I mean, our main difference is the fact that C9, they get right up to the precipice of dealing with checkers, and they have that active player over on the other end, Gunner, making the most out of that situation and constantly being that crossing point for C9 throughout that entire round. I mean, not only does he get that big pickup there over on yellow, but then rotates back down, picks things back up for Spiral, and is shutting down all of front desk while C9 are dealing with that checkers position, as well as thwarting all of Wildcard as they try and swing out and deal with that main blunt force coming in from C9. It's very well done across the board from them. That game plan working magic inside of round 7.
And look at the score on the side of C9 Beastcoast. I mean, everybody positive except Spirits, who is 6-6, absolutely having a strong impact in this game. It is a very solid team effort. And on the side of Wildcard, of course, you know, you've got similar score lines, but with Spiff being seemingly a big difference maker in just the 2 rounds Wildcard have had so far, C9 BC very easily, maybe, if they had just killed one player in 2 separate rounds, might have ended the game with that very attack in an alternate world. But their attack's looking quite strong, being able to deal with that admin position. Now as we move down to the middle floor, exposition, if C9 BC are just able to do something similar, get the vertical control, maybe put heavy pressure on yellow stairs, it might be different spots, but it's a very similar game plan to what they just did.
Yeah. It's going to be top floor priority again, as we talked about earlier. Exhibition and Piano rest on the precipice of what you're able to accomplish on this top floor. I mean, there is very seldom a moment where you just go direct to this bomb site and somebody upstairs doesn't kill you while you're trying to put a case down. So it's really up to C9 as to how they want to try and solve this puzzle. Now, we've seen them working from the admin side, at least for last round. It looks like this is going to be very similar, and this is something that has been a bread and butter tactic on Consulate for millennia, folks. I'm talking back to when the game first opened up. You know, people inside of Ranked and Gold going, hey, maybe we take from the admin side. So this is not a reinvention of the wheel at all. C9 going with the most mainline thing they could potentially think of, just bringing the proper operators to try and back up this plant.
No one's going to complain about that, certainly. The right lineup for the job, especially Hot and Cold being seen on that Monty. The very player to bring that back. He might not find himself getting any nice flicks like he did in the previous one, but could find himself to be a very, very important player. Unfortunately, Bay wasn't so much on that Monty for Wildcard. Making progress, to be sure, in some rounds, putting in some good work, but overall a pretty ineffective force in the grand scheme of things, dying every single round. Now C9 BC able to make progress to that front lobby, working the way to the site. Yellow stairs, not even a factor. It is entirely a push from the admin side over, and they are knocking onto the door to the site. Hot and Cold could enter at any time, but they have to deal with some of these defenders. There's still verticality up above.
Scary sides here, but Gunner, he does it again. He works his way up bench hallway, or what used to be bench hallway. I don't know what the hell people call it now, but he's going to put Bosco on the bench. Gonna have Spiff try and peek back into this. Oh, man. You get worried in moments like this. The round could rest on what happens in something along these lines. A nice big kill here, but Spirits! How do you even make something like that happen? Oh my goodness! He just works his way up yellow and he completely annihilates the defenders. It's only Bay and Spiker, and they're both upstairs.
This coordination from C9 is absolutely ridiculous. Spirits rotates around with the backstab. They've got Spikers position red.
Come on.
What do you even do at this point? I mean, Bay trying to go for a flank. Bro thinks he's Gunner, but I just don't think it's going to happen in the 1v4. Maybe you get one. Does see Gavini through the wall, but remember, there's somebody main lobby who's got this position found out from the Warden. The diffuser's also planted. The Monty can apply some pressure to the very Warden who's trying to bring Wildcard back into this to deny match point against C9 BC.
Look at this.
But Gunner finds him on the long angle. A ridiculously beautiful round from C9. I mean, what else can you say from what happened between the Monty and his 2 players?
Yeah, that's like when you draw everything up as a coach and you talk about like adaptability in the round and just working as a team. That is what you think of in your mind when everything goes perfectly. That round that we see there from C9, absolutely ridiculous stuff. I love the way that they operate around this yellow stairs position. You have this pressure in. Gunner gets a big kill. They, push the Monty in here. Everyone is distracted with this shield play of Hot and Cold. He's been one of the best in the business for a very long time, and he shows his presence once again. He doesn't overplay his hand card. He could have easily have tried to go for a melee. So many different ways he could have broke that down, but instead, he's patient, and he waits for the play to come from Spirits. That skeleton key making a skeleton crew out of Wildcard.
I think that's the funny thing about that whole situation, because I remember looking at Hot and Cold right before that play happened, and Gunner turns around and walks away. I'm like, Gunner, no, you're leaving Hot and Cold alone. What are you doing? And then Spirits literally just sprints up from yellow stairs to the skeleton key. I'm like, I see what the plan was. So just really, really well played and fun round to watch for C9 BC. And Unfortunately, as I think the desk was worried about the defensive woes for Wildcard, but also just the attacking strengths from C9, to be honest with you, is as good, in the case of the latter, as we thought it was going to be. Round 7, very, very good job clearing admin. Round 8, very good job playing around that.
No, you're not, right?
Very good job playing around that Monty. I mean, you don't know. Gotta get the momentum back. What's the F word? Float? The float word?
Yes, yeah. You know, I'm more terrified as well because Kansan was over here on the pulse. You can see him over there inside of piano. I'm just like, are we really going with high flying in the last round? And there is some potential behind that, but things are so risky now with that hop.
Oh, here we
and
go.
It's gonna be a fast round here from C9. We're gonna have Spirits on his hallmark operator. He'll be the first one to get a kill here for C9. 2 shield players, Hot and Cold's trying to bully a player, but Spirits, he's just better, god damn it. Bosco gets gunned down. Gunner makes mincemeat of another one. Carter, walk us through the rest of this 4v2.
I mean, I might not be doing a whole lot of talking for long. Spiff will cut down Diffuser, but off the ground gained by that double shield Blitz and Monty push. I mean, the site was free real estate for C9. They find one of their 2 remaining players in yellow. He's blinded by the Blitz. Kansan alt walking down Spiral, and I just don't think we have that kind of time in this round or left in the match. Spiff locks himself out of the bomb site, trying to save himself from embarrassment. 1, 2, 3 for Spirits. And, well, it's over. 7-2 for C9 Beastcoast on Consulate, and not a particularly close affair.
Well, a nice day in the office for Cloud9, or in this case, the Consulate, right? This is just absolutely bonkers what C9 were looking like here today. Because honestly, I don't think Wildcard had the worst strategy walking into this in the world. I think it was really the fact that C9 just looked indomitable. They always had the answer for everything that Wildcard was doing.
I mean, it's just... It's, to be fair, I think it's kind of what we would expect from the major champions, but definitely we're hoping a bit more from Wildcard in that matchup, Sam, especially as they go to their attacking side, or their defensive side, excuse me, not really able to find a lot of the pieces. It's unfortunate, but hey, we got one more match coming right up. SSG SQ, my match of the day, coming up in a bit.
Let's go!
Oh, man, in a game that is now tied for the fastest game of NAL Stage 2 so far, C9BC kind of did what we were expecting them to do. They got defense first on Consulate. Wildcard couldn't do anything to break through more than just 2 of those attacks and then didn't win a single defense. This is just C9BC's world and we're living in it.
This is what I said. I said, C9BC, you are going to play their game and how they want to play Siege. And this was a game that completely demonstrated that Wildcard looked like they wanted to try to do something, and every possible scenario got immediately shut down.
Yeah, we all made like a unanimous groan when we saw the map come out. Even though Wildcard, there's some good things to take away from their entry game. Unfortunately, when you go to a map like Consulate, it's very difficult to find ways into the map, to find picks, especially just from one guy. You have to be really the better team on this map because there's so many avenues of the way that you can play. And C9BC was just so claustrophobic on their defenses. Even if you were getting a kill somewhere else, you were losing a trade somewhere else. I mean, even in that last round, you heard Hot and Cold say, just take your 1 Spirits. Obviously, their confidence was there, and they were just racking up the 1v1 kills. I mean, it was really Cloud9's game the whole time. I mean, you could see it by the stats.
Oh, boy. The only 2 rounds that C9BC lost were the only times that they got the entry pick, which they did most of the time, but then they didn't convert the round. Though, I mean, and I think that was really it. Like, honestly, 2 times.
It doesn't matter.
I'm looking for the weak spot here, and it's very difficult to figure it out.
They blew Wildcard absolutely out of the water. I mean, there's not much that you can really take away from this game for C9 Beastcoast outside of maybe like a small error, but like they played their fundamentals, they played their game of Siege, and it's exactly why we saw the result that we're seeing.
Spirits at 100% cost, by the way.
I mean, that's what we wanted to see out of them. We literally said coming into week 2, we want to see the Wildcard that won the Manchester Major. They need to put a stand in. Thank you. They need to put a stand in to be able, a stand down, put their foot down, and be able to show everybody like that they're still a threat after the Manchester Major. And if it wasn't coming week 2, we'd be really scared. But thankfully, it came, and it went just that quick, just that fast. If you blinked, you almost missed it.
Yeah, Wildcard got just smothered on Consulate, and round 8 was a great example of that. If you're C9BC, not if you're Wildcard.
Yeah, it was a really nice play from C9BC. Obviously, Gunner is shooting his gun.
Thank you for clarifying
Gunner
that.
is shooting his gun. Sorry, I got a little mixed up. But Gunner is baiting his gun and pretty much baiting the Wildcard members to say, hey, I'm over here ringing the dinner bell. And then you're going to see the Monty walk up. One player walks back, and then they have Spirits who comes by with the buck, and it's a nice little bait and switch. And that's what we talk about playing C9's game. Obviously, Gunner was shooting his gun, right? But it's about the bait that he knows there's a player here. I can kind of do a bait and switch, bring the Monty over, and then it forces Wildcard to have to push into the Monty because they want to go for a gunfight on the player that was baiting his gun. Spirits hits the flank, is able to get 2 nice kills, and that's just so much adaptability from C9BC.
I'd like to talk to one Matthew Hodden Cold Stevens for a couple of minutes. Brother, congratulations on the win. It's good to have you back in the interviewer's chair. Those last 2 rounds where you ran the double shield combo, completely different sites, by the way, but why do you gotta bully these guys like that, man? Come on.
Did we run it twice?
Yeah.
I thought it was only last round.
I thought it was last round, too.
I had it on exhibition and then had it on cafeteria too. But regardless, still ran it the last time. You just thought that was the most effective strat. Just you wanted to close it out quick. It seemed like.
Well, I mean, we saw their setup with heavy, Pulse, Solus. That kind of tells me that they're gonna play for plant denial, or early they're gonna play for C4s if we would do like a top clear. So I figured just hit the site. If they don't have wall denial, we're just gonna hit the site, and then. I mean, shields are obviously the most overpowered thing right now. Might as well have 2 of them.
No, absolutely.
Running in at them.
Absolutely. Immune Spirits make that look beautiful and easy. But I want to talk about, Gunner specifically said yesterday that you guys were working on discipline. Why is that? Why are you guys struggling with discipline that you have to focus on it now?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, we have some of the best fraggers in the game, and they know they are some of the best, so they just peek everything. And, it's been a problem forever for us with discipline. I just think at the Manchester Major, it's a lot easier to keep each other accountable with it. Like in person at a LAN event. So we came back to online, and then those problems didn't disappear. They came back, and we just had to really hammer on it. And our defenses look a lot better since week 1.
I mean, yeah. I mean, from yesterday and then even into today. I mean, I said, I don't know if you heard in the interview, you guys are setting the tempo. You guys are forcing teams to play your game, not the other way around.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like a big thing you could do in this meta, like you have so much that you can do, especially on attack. Make teams play in chaos, make them play, default siege, whatever, whatever works better against that team. I mean, the shields probably aren't fun to play against.
I mean, you guys don't make it look fun to play against.
No, they're definitely not. But I mean, it's just like a diverse meta. It's really good. It's really good.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that you have great players that know that they're good. And obviously, I'm sure you are one of the main vocal points, keeping everybody disciplined. But in that last round, we hear you say, Spirits, take your 1. So how many times do you find yourself in a game where you're able to kind of let your players let loose? Like, what is that? How do you get to a moment where you're just, you know what, go get that kill, go get that 1?
Honestly, I mean, I think that stems from just having trust in your players, and your teammates. I trust every one of them to do whatever they need to. So, I mean, there's times where I tell Gav, like, Gav's our solo roamer. Gav, just get it done up there. Like, whatever you have to do, get it done. Whatever. Zach, I mean, if he's on blitz, like, I know he's killing everyone. So it's just a trust thing, just have full trust in your teammates, and it'll most likely end well.
I remember the stark contrast from last stage where it was an 0-3 start. You guys hadn't had that much time to really get to know one another or have playstyles mesh or any of that. And then it was that crazy run all the way from, winning stage 1, going to Manchester. History's already written itself at that point. But why was the beginning of this stage so different compared to the beginning of last stage, other than just getting acclimated to a new system? Like, what's really, really good about how this stage started for you guys?
I mean, obviously the main difference is the pressure. Before we had no pressure on us. Now we have kind of all the pressure. We have to get back to where we were. But for us, it's just getting better every day. We can lose a game. Like, we lost against Amity. I don't think we should have, obviously, but
sure,
they played good, and it really, like, kicked you know, kicked us into gear practice-wise, and I feel like it got us thinking about the right things in order to improve.
I mean, we didn't even think you guys should have lost that game. We said it on the desk here. Fundamentally, you guys looked like you were the better team. It just came down to the small errors that you guys were losing then that costed that match.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they won a lot of.
You banned a trick server wall.
second.
You specifically banned a trick server wall. That in every scenario should go in your favor.
We're not going to let him live that round down, are we?
If I get a couple more kills that game, we win. That's
For
all
sure.
I'll say.
Well, good stuff this week, dude.
I didn't play too good.
That's hey,
Thank you.
A 6-point week overall. Absolutely nothing to sniff at. Come back and do it again next week, and we'll see you then. All right, dude?
It's the plan.
Week
see
3
you
up
then.
on deck. C9BC, dude, they're looking hot. I mean, yeah, again, because that one loss was overtime, it could really swing either way. Because it didn't swing their way, they're not letting that really bug them very much because they're doing really good right now.
Well, I know we're saying that's going to bug them, but there is a fly flying around here that is bugging all of us in front of me right now.
Jesus.
But again, no, I'm so glad again because I chose Beastcoast as my top team, and I'm so glad from the first day performance, from the second day performance, and the third day performance, they are looking scarier and scarier and looking like that Manchester run team that we saw just completely dominate through all of Manchester and win it all.
Are you happy that you were right, or were you happy that Fox 8 was wrong?
No, I'm happy that I was. I'm happy that. I'm happy that I was.
Well, we
right.
had him in fourth. Look at where they're at
happy
now.
that I was right, only for the simple fact, honestly, watching C9 Beastcoast out of all the teams right now, even Sonics, for example, there's just. I just really enjoy watching C9 Beastcoast. Sure, you say there's a little bias there, but it's just how they play the game. They just at a fundamental level, they get it. They understand this meta, and they really demonstrate that throughout their play.
It's a very fresh and aggressive way to watch, and when you're watching, it's almost like you're captivated every single round because of how aggressive and on pace that they are. Every single round, you never really know what they're going to bring. First team to bring out the Boss G ACOG with Spirits. Team also runs double shields in a round. I mean, they definitely enjoyed themselves when they're playing that game.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're really good. Also, you know, there's still a lot of Siege to be played here, you know? So, I mean, they still lost to M80, unfortunately. You know, we did say that we should have won, but they did lose to M80. So, I mean, they still could find themselves in third or fourth. So now they need to make sure that they're staying consistent and keeping up that run. They look great this week, but there's many more weeks to come.
Congratulations to C9BC on a 6-point week. But coming up next, our main event of the evening, the match I've been looking forward to the most of any so far, Sonics and Space Station will close out day 4 after the break.
It's total calamity, total mayhem inside of the server. Out of nowhere, they find the round back into their favor.
Holding up for the plunder wave. And I think he might just find it.